Of America's classic road racing venues, this one has changed very little since its construction in 1955. When racing still took place on town roads, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin was a hotspot for events for a few years until a national law outlawed contests of speed on public roadways. This monolith of North American road racing was built soon thereafter amidst a racetrack building boom, along with courses like Watkins Glen, Laguna Seca, and Lime Rock Park. Today, it's called Road America, and it plays host to round number 5 of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Last round, we saw a treat of a race between the two championship leaders, but all that finesse gives way to the 4-mile power track known as America's National Park of Speed. Hi, everybody. Kyle Heyer, joined, as always, by Justin Prince for round 5 of 7 of this championship. And Justin, after braving the rains at Virginia International Raceway about a month ago, we head up to Wisconsin to the land of brats and cheese, and it's time to go racing at Road America.
And it should be a fun one today because it's a track where plenty of speed is carried about. Lots of importance with draft, lots of importance to be able to be precise in the corners that do matter around this racetrack. It's going to be the type of race where if you like draft tracks, this is one of them that you can emphasize and utilize a lot today.
It's a really fast racetrack, and of course there's a lot of points implications playing out with some drivers that are not returning to the championship, some new drivers showing up that could be a force, maybe not for the championship, but absolutely for race wins. But let's have a look at the track map here, the Continental Track Preview, Justin, and this is a fast place, but two different racetracks from one half to the next. From turn 1 to 5, it's all about power, speed, and draft, and from 6 on, it's a pretty interesting handling section with lots of ups and downs.
Yeah, that run up through the moraine sweep in particular is going to be one of your best passing opportunities today. Lots of opportunity to slingshot your way all the way up to turn 5. Then it gets technical through the hurry downs of the carousel before setting things up for the back half of the course through Kettle Bottoms and to Canada Corner before you reach that front straightaway where it's going to be another emphasized draft section.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of pack racing. We haven't really seen a ton of that so far, but this is the car that we've got, the Toyota GR86 Cup car. It's got about 228 horsepower from that flat 4-cylinder engine, but it's got some aerodynamics and some good brakes and suspension that will let you use up all the curbing here on corner exit. It is a great tool for the job here, racing for 1 hour.
Yeah, that curbing is going to be utilized a lot by that suspension. Going to see a lot of shuffling as well, possibly with those JRA adjustable shocks as they bounce around that said curbing and bounce those tires around. In particular, this racetrack is going to be one where you want to make sure you don't slide those tires, don't slide those rear ends, those Continental rubbers, to make sure you hold on to the circuit and make sure you're able to execute by that second and third sector.
Yeah, and as far as the points championship, we touched on it a little bit before, but it is pretty tight up at the front of the order. Michael Polasek has won the last 2 races. The combined margin of victory is under 1/10 of a second. It's been unbelievably tight between himself and Michael Yanni. Michael Yanni's got his younger brother Nick joining us now, but he'll be making up from 0 points, which is about 29th on back in the championship hunt. But still the top 3, I think, are really in contention. Andre Castro looked quick in practice.
Yeah, Castro in final practice. In fact, the top driver in the session in the 232 flats. Most drivers set times within a second of each other. But I think for Polasek, he's got the momentum when it comes to racecraft. Because when it comes to him, back-to-back races, only winner so far that's won more than once on the season so far. Polasek is going to be one to have to beat here today if you want to win a championship.
Absolutely, and with the point standings out of the way, let's head down to the racetrack where qualifying is already underway. And here in a few moments' time, we're going to set the grid for today's 1-hour event. And you mentioned Polasek and how much momentum he is carrying in. Here he is in that number 45 at the top of the order. And currently, the quickest lap he's run is a 2:31.039. And this is much quicker than we saw in practice, and I think a lot of it comes down to the fixed setup that we're using. It's a little bit more tuned, lightweight, with that fuel kind of not in the car anymore. But Matt Adams isn't far behind, just 1/10.5 back from Polasek.
Matt Adams up 2/10 as well, so it seems like at the very least the racecraft picking up compared to what we're seeing now in the qualifying session is a better way to put it. But better yet, keep an eye on drivers like Castro to see who they work with, because draft is going to be important. And you see a lot of these trains where you don't want to be the first out. For some reason, we have someone in the grass in this choo-choo train, but everyone's just trying to figure out who do they want to work with.
That's Jordan Rick Segrini from BSI Racing, who was just trying to get out of the way for a minute, and the only route he had out was through the grass, so he will get back in line. P6 at the moment. And I think I see, is that Paul Darling in the 55 in this mix? He was going to be a late addition. And there he is, P13. Now, he told us that he was going to be late to practice, and he just made it in. Without a lot of practice in the session here, he's going to have to learn pretty quick. Now, qualifying is over a half an hour long, Justin, so there's plenty of time. And this is, I think, one of those places that this session will come down to who you work with more than your outright raw pace.
And having a teammate is going to be critical. Chris Wentz amongst those that has teammates with Andre Castro in this grouping, but everybody else, and at least in this pack, is on their own. So you're in the game where, okay, who's friendly to me? Who's going to be willing to be the lead car, willing to be the sacrifice here? Who's willing to be able to drop back? That's also much conversation that comes into play in the mind, at least, that you won't know until you actually hit the track, and then you start to see the games come into play during the lap.
A couple new drivers have joined us. We mentioned Nick Yanni, who is the younger brother of the runner-up in the championship, Michael Yanni. But one of the other new drivers to join us in this championship for this round is Aiden Kirk. You'll notice him in a very familiar livery for those following the Real World Toyota GR Cup North America Series this year. This is Tech Sport Racing's Aiden Kirk in the number 47, same car that he runs in the Real World, and put on a pretty good performance last time out at VIR, running top 10 for much of the weekend, and I anticipate him to do pretty well. He's got some work to do here in qualifying, but he's in the right place in the midst in a pack here.
He was in the 234s in final practice towards the bottom of the board, trying to acclimate himself, got very loose with the rear tires noticed, especially around the carousel and through hurry downs. I think today it's going to be a learning experience to see how the car feels in the sim compared to what he prefers in the real world. It's great to see, though, more real-world racers making their way into the series. Yeah,
I think it's really exciting, and his teammate Devin Anderson is also racing here today. And I don't know if Devin Anderson has gotten some laps in. Indeed, he has P16 at the moment, also in a Tech Sport Racing livery. But there he is behind the wheel. And he was another driver that had a great run at Tech Sport Racing's home venue at VIR last time out. And they also went back to victory lane with Spike Kohlbecker, which was great to see. But into the braking zone down here for turn 5. You know, you documented it in the Continental Track preview, Justin, how critical it is to get slowed down there. You're coming from the maximum velocity in these cars, which is nearly 130 miles an hour, maybe a bit more than that in the real world. And you have to use those Alcon brakes to get these things slowed down, but you also have to carry speed. So how do you manage both of those opposite sounding things at a track that's so stop and start?
Well, first things first, it comes down to precision practice. Devin Anderson obviously not happy with his run, electing to tow there. But it also comes down to making sure you have good throttle control and good brake control. You can't just go quickly onto the Alcon brakes and just absolutely slam it to the floor. You have to be precise on the movement. You have to be very methodical on the movement. If you go too quick, you snap it around. If you go too slow on the movement, you're going to lose time or miss the corner. In terms of throttle movement as well, that's going to be critical to make sure you just have enough critical movement to just have the corner exit go smooth and precise while not bogging down and not losing time on the throttle.
Paul Darling running P16. We talked about him a bit already. Chasing Ken Hauseal, big lateral slide through turn 8, and Hauseal goes for a ride. And how on edge are these cars? Here's a great look at it, Justin, in turn 8.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You miss the corner, you try and fight it, it ends up fighting back on you, but in this case, he immediately towed it. Just missed the braking point by a little bit. You've seen it, but the apex point, he was just too quick.
Well, the PT Autosport with Precision Racing LA cars working their way around Henry Drury, the real-world competitor who has a sim racing background as well. This, I believe, is his second round running with us here in the same livery that he runs in the real world. There he is, quietly, slowly working their way around as a pairing between himself and the 92 of Michael Yanni, just getting set up for another qualifying run here in the next 15 minutes.
Just warming up the tires seems to be the main thing right now. Just keep it patient. Just try to get the tires in the right window, because here's the thing, it also takes a couple laps with the tires to get to an optimal window, and they're trying to speed up that process a little bit while making sure they have as much space as they can to work with. Right now, they got plenty of space, at least, to qualifying compared to some of the other groups that are full saw and trying to push like Weston Workman.
Yeah, Wesley Workman joins us again. We keep talking about the real-world competitors that run in the Toyota GR Cup North America Series, but Weston is back at his JBL and Copeland Motorsports number 13. Has been a persistent front runner all season long. Right runner-up to Gresham Wagner. Got his another podium right behind Jackson Bell back at Circuit of the Americas earlier in the year. Jackson was the first driver not named Gresham Wagner to take a victory in their fourth round of the championship. Workman's right behind Max Hewitt and a couple other drivers that know how to go pretty quick, but currently down in 22nd with 14 minutes left on the clock.
We know he's got the race pace. He was just one of the last people to take part in practice, believe, on times. So it's just a matter of getting the car to where he wants to be, around his comfortability with the car where it wants to be for the race today. He's got an hour to do it, right? We've seen him hard charge several times already this series. He just needs to get the qualifying together, because right now the margins in qualifying are razor thin. And even one little mistake that would be okay-ish in a race is just costly on hot lap time today.
Yeah, and I think the single car pace won't matter quite so much here just because of all this draft we've been talking about, but there still is such high commitment required here, as I think Matt Best just went up to second place and knocks Matt Adams down to third. But it's a high commitment racetrack. One of the corners that we always talk about every time we come to Road America is the kink. It's effectively flat out in these cars, but it's not an easy flat. You still might have to lift in traffic. And if there's an incident over here, this is where you can get yourself a track blockage. And we haven't seen one yet this season. Hope we don't, Justin, but we do have the potential for a full course yellow. And as far as track blockages, the kink is probably one of the worst places to get one of those.
Yeah, especially since it's so easy for one trying to go off the track, slip back to the right, boom, they're back in the racing surface. Not really seen that too much these days in major competition. A lot of people have taken that a lot more carefully in these events in the past couple years compared to, say, the 2010s. So I'm not expecting there to be the track blockage myself today.
Look at this on the back straightaway. It is busy. Michael Polasek in the 45 leads a train down to turn 5, and a handful of others are just working their way around very slowly. Going for a little off-road excursion there. But Michael Polasek leads this train 20 thousandths ahead of Matt Best. Interestingly, though, Michael Yanni we saw running slower earlier. He's down in 17th place. I don't know that we've seen the true pace of this car just yet, but we saw him working with the 88 earlier. I'm not sure where that strategy's gone.
I think he's just trying to see what he can do on his own, because sometimes the interesting is on the drafting tracks, sometimes is the key word. I've seen it where you're almost faster on your own because you don't have anyone holding you up, or you end up following somebody's mistakes off the racetrack. In the case of Yanni, I think, just trying to feel things out, see where he stands, because he needs to be able to pick up a lot more time. But 2:31.9 is his personal best. 17th is a lot lower than we expect him to be.
Yeah, just listen to the throttle input here going into the kink. Flat to the floor, 110 miles an hour. Just the slightest lift as he engages fifth gear. Right out to the rumbles, 115 miles an hour minimum corner speed there, and then continuing flat out all the way to Canada Corner. This is a fast place, and it's been effectively, as I said in the intro, the same since 1955. It's seen a lot of safety improvements and walls pushed back and some runoff in places, but the original layout has never changed. And it really is one of those classic courses that deserves a lot of respect. But Yanni bails out of this lap. He'll wait to go again. Nicholas Rice-Puto in the 33 comes up to the start-finish line. P6 for him right now. This is a pretty solid run so far.
Yeah, not bad at all so far for him. We haven't seen too much of him, correct me if I'm wrong, because Rice-Puto, not a top 10 contender in the point standing so far. Just one of those that is a beneficiary, I think, of the draft. Same for Matt Best. Best up to second within 2/100ths for the pole time, for example. And that's where that draft effect can come into play, is people you might not expect to see up front take advantage because they're in the right place, right time.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. We've only seen him once, and it was back at Sonoma. Started 41st, finished 37th, so things didn't really go the way he was hoping there. Paul Darling did improve to P10 last time around, so he's picked up a little speed. You see him leading a train here with Wan Shi Lin tucked in right behind him. Those two have worked together in the past outside of this championship. And a new livery and partner for Blake Townend. He's now part of the simshop.com group, and a nice looking paint scheme on this number 57 Toyota GR86 P9 for the moment for Townend.
And new organizations, and that's happened for a couple different drivers. Just, it happens, right? Sometimes you just don't have the right fit. Sometimes a new opportunity comes up to be in the middle of a series.
Whoa!
Oh, and that's a little bit tight.
It's Jordan Rick-Segrini trying to get out of the way, but again, it's turn 7. We talked about high commitment. It's another corner that you're almost flat. And he gets by Andre Castro here on the inside, turns in, and Rick-Segrini was trying to decide whether to go right or left. And I don't know if Townend had to lift, but it seems like he has given up on this lap and he will start again. But nice long qualifying session here. The real world, we only get 15 minutes for each race to qualify. These guys get double that, so that really helps at a track this big.
Yeah, right now at this point, the more laps turn to, you have to keep in mind, the more rubber buildup, but also the more the track temperature can pick up. It's about 110 Fahrenheit for reference right now. So at this point, you're talking about the potential of more rubber, more speed to pick up, more grip to pick up, more comfortability to pick up for the throttle movements compared to a green track or a fresh track early.
Yeah, one of the drivers I'd be a bit worried about, with this track getting faster and faster, but he's getting nowhere. Max Hewitt has run 7 laps and has yet to put a clean one down, which means that he doesn't have a qualifying time at the moment, as the Tech Sport drivers seem to have a split decision on which way to go. Anderson heads for the pit lane. The 47 of Aiden Kirk stays on the racetrack. Another new name, Pierre-Olivier Cloutier in the 63, works his way around right now and heads down towards turn number 3. Now this is a corner, turn 2, although just like turn 4, I don't really know how much it exists, only in the minds of the track maps, I suppose.
Hey, it's a small bend, right? It's just a tiny enough one to be able to be called a corner. And sometimes that's all that counts, right? Is you bend something on the racetrack, counts as a corner.
I suppose. They call this the Moraine sweep running down to turn 5. And this is another tricky braking zone because you kind of have to brake while you're going across the road. You can actually see the grain of the pavement leading across the width of the track to that outside rumble strip. It's not a straight braking zone necessarily. You've got to sort of align yourself in such a way that you turn in right at the optimal location. Now, let's talk track limits because I know people at home are watching some drivers run a little wide. They are as enforced by iRacing, so there are instances where you can run a little wider than perhaps you would think, like at the exit of Canada Corner, at the exit of turn 5. There are extra little bits of pavement that are fair game to use, and so long as you're not coming to iRacing's ire as far as limits are concerned, that's fair game for qualifying.
Yeah, as long as you don't pass that 50% threshold, right? And this isn't a track with the special exemption rules like some of the other circuits where it could be a little bit more lenient or a little bit more stricter in some cases. So this is back down to the experience of learning where you can find the track limits and knowing, especially if you're one of the top drivers, how much you can play the throttle and get away with, so to speak, on corner exit.
Yeah, Michael Polasek, we're watching here, totally zoned in and focused at the moment. And he's had a pretty thrilling last few events. He's won, as you mentioned, he's the only driver that's won more than once. And the last 2 races have come down to a photo finish, both at Circuit of the Americas and at VIR. I'll tell you, Michael Yanni's probably getting real tired of having to finish second that closely, but this qualifying effort is not going the way that he had hoped, and he's going to have a lot of work to do without a chance necessarily of a full course yellow, or at least not a guaranteed full course yellow. Yanni's fighting an uphill battle here at Road America.
Yeah, he's been trying to save hard on the tires, trying to heat up tires well. Just, I think the main thing is every time he's on a push lap, well, look what's going on around him. How are you supposed to push when you have that going on around you?
Yeah, it's tricky. Everyone's trying to find advantages here. I haven't seen any conversations in race control yet about penalizing. I mean, the idea is that you're not supposed to be impeding drivers. That's why everyone's pulling out of the way. Everyone's got different agendas and they're all happening at different rates and times. But it is pretty chaotic to watch, isn't it?
It's been outright chaotic in some circumstances to the point where drivers are in the grass, and obviously that's suboptimal in terms of being able to just run through the grass and get out of the way that way. That's going to bungle up a lot of people's momentum. And I think Michael Yanni is again having to reset because every time he pushes, that happens.
Yeah, the 4 was off pace there, and I don't know if he just took a hard left to get out of the way or if it was a slip or what, but that did hold him up a little bit, and he's running out of time, just under 5 minutes to go. So we get a look at Logan McKenzie is one of those cars, lead number 14. His teammate in behind. So drivers trying to coordinate and work together, but we haven't really seen a lot of drivers change the order in the top 10 the last few minutes. It is tricky out there right now.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's getting extremely difficult to even improve on the times because the benchmark is set to the top times for the practice right now. It's right in the same ballpark. It's right now at that point where drivers need to figure out, is there anything I've left on the table? Is there anything else I can do personally to be able to try and improve? And that's a tough thing. Like even in this group, there's a car the wrong way around, that time in Cloutier, and that's gonna make sure you lose some focus and momentum there.
Yeah, that was Cloutier going around for a spin. We didn't really catch the front end of it, so let's have another look. Heading down into turn 5. You stand the car up on its nose heading down here. Turns in, and he already has it kind of throttled up, but no traction control in this setup. These cars really don't necessarily need it in dry conditions. And so he just had the rear wheel spinning, and off he went.
Off onto the racetrack he goes again. Might have time for maybe one lap if he wants to. He's in 25th after all.
Josh Soto is up in the green right now, I think. See if he can go quicker the second time around. Actually, he's on lap 8. He's done quite a few laps in this stint, but has a nice draft off a car up the road, and see if he can make some moves here.
He's really experienced when it comes to sim and really experienced when it comes to real world races in various different series in this style of racing. Right now, seems to be able to keep himself off the sand, seems to be pushing well. He's gaining time with the cars in front. That's a good sign as Polasek goes excursioning in the grass.
And Polasek bails out. Soto's got a pretty good run coming here. Up out onto the rumbles. And notification from race control. We saw Nate Stewart kind of hold up the 92 Ayani. He's gotten a warning for impeding during qualifying. Now we've gotten another note from race control that going slowly is not illegal. So you can do that as long as you're not impeding other competitors. Now we've seen that with the 4. So he's drawn the ire of the steward. And it's not something you want. You want to be on the naughty list before the race even starts.
Yeah, you don't want to end up being on that list and have it grow pretty significantly. By the way, that Joshua Soto time, 1/1000th of a second slower than his personal best. He did not get a chance to improve.
Oh, that is tough. Now, one thing I have noticed is that the 92 is not on the racetrack at the moment, and he is not going to get another lap, so he will qualify at best 20th. That is going to be a long climb if he wants to go battle Michael Polasek for this race win and therefore the title. We're also running out of races. We have this race, Barber Motorsports Park, in September, and then we've got our Indianapolis Motor Speedway round, and that will conclude the championship. So you're running out of opportunities to get an upper hand on your championship rivals.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely costly for Michael, I think, today, this qualifying session, because I don't think you're coming up to the field and taking a top 5. It's going to be hard for a top 10. So Michael is absolutely on the back foot the rest of this championship unless he has a perfect start or somehow manages a top 5 from what would essentially be 10, 15 seconds deeper than everybody else at the front of the field.
Well, it's going to up the aggression at the launch of the green flag, I'm sure of that. And race starts have been a particular point of contention as far as trying to game them. I mean, this is a high-level eSports championship, Justin, so everyone is looking for every little advantage. But the rule, as it is in the real world, is you have to remain in your column until you cross the start-finish line. You cannot get overlap before then. Once you get to that start-finish line, all bets are off. But this is a narrow front straightaway. There's concrete on both sides. The first turn is a 4th-gear right-hander. It invites trouble. And that's going to be a big focus for the drivers, just surviving turn 1. At Road America, it can bite.
And it can strike fast as well, just like we've seen a lot of people struggle with the racetrack here at high speeds. just taking a look at some of this.
This is Aiden Kirk in the 47. He was right ahead of Henry Drury. Turns in. Drury had some overlap. Kirk gave him the inside, but ran out wide into the grass. And it's pretty smooth here in iRacing, but it's still not advised to run out beyond those rumble strips. Get yourself in trouble. Checkered flag is out, and drivers may continue their laps but not begin a new one.
Error impediment warning too for the 220. Devin Anderson got one this time. So not sure which car he impeded in this circumstance, but with the session coming to a close here, Polasek really setting the gauntlet down on the racetrack.
Yeah, Polasek again continues to be the driver to beat, but not by a lot, and I think it's all going to come down to racecraft. This single lap pace, that's important, but I don't know that you're going to be able to break away. This car doesn't draft quite as well as some other one-make cars, and that's kind of by design. The idea here is to let the drivers control a little bit of their own destiny, but based on these qualifying results, you'd never know that. Here comes Andre Castro up driver's left, and we're hearing that there was a retraction of the warning for the 220, so I guess that was investigated further and no action there. As the 34 comes across the stripe, completes his effort, jumps to 6th with a 2:31.254.
Up from 9th, that's going to really help Castro indeed to be able to fight things out. Going to be on the outside though for the initial start. That's going to be a tough one, possibly for the lanes. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but Micah Hendricks going to be one of the final, if not the final driver to set a time. 29th for somebody that's shown top 15 speed this season.
Yeah, he's not going to finish it. He's down a couple of seconds on his best lap, so he will come up and complete his qualifying effort. But our starting lineup has effectively been confirmed at this stage, and I'm genuinely surprised to see Michael Yanni so far down the order, especially when his championship rival's so close to the front. So this is going to get interesting here in the next few minutes.
Extremely interesting with Polasek in particular. Going to be fighting to have to hold off the pack like Best, Matt Adams, Stewart, Soto, Castro. Those 6 going to be very tightly packed all day, and likely to see a fair amount of swapping as a result of the draft today. But a huge storyline, Michael Yanni 21st. That's disastrous for the championship for him.
Yeah, he's going to have to be aggressive, like I said, and he can't wait around. He's going to have to go from the drop of the green, and it is going to be pretty wild to watch. This is a big racetrack, but we have 60 minutes of racing. We have 15 more minutes in this championship per race than we do in the real one, so you get a little more action all the time. Thanks for joining us here for the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League here in the iRacing service as we get ready for our 5th round of 2024. 7 total. This is round 5. Let's have a look at the Continental Track preview one more time before we get to our pace laps here. And once again, track hasn't changed since 1955, but it's got particular trouble spots. Turn 5, the kink, and I would think turn 14, that last turn, Justin, that it might be the most critical one here later today at minute 59.
Yeah, especially if it comes down to a last-minute battle. We might see drivers go wide there, might go squabbling, might go swing into the grass, trying to fight. Expecting a lot of trouble as well, possibly through turn 8 today. That's going to be a wild race throughout this entire second half of the racetrack, in particular, to fight to stay on the circuit.
Yeah, a lot of elevation change here. It doesn't really happen in a hurry, though. It's slow elevation change in comparison to VIR, where there's just tons of texture, ups and downs and lefts and rights. Here, it all happens with a little bit less haste as far as the direction changes, but certainly haste down the straightaways. Qualifying is officially complete, and now we head to the race. 1 hour and 33 drivers going to do battle here in just a moment. We'll roll you through our starting lineup in just a couple minutes' time. Of course, we have some onboards from drivers that will give us a look inside their world here in this race, and one of those we were watching was Michael Yanni earlier. Certainly has a lot of work to do to make his way forward. Cameron Martineau giving us a perspective inside. Blake Townend is going to give us a look inside his number 57. Pierre-Olivier Cloutier also giving us a look over the shoulder as he gets ready, and so many more. We'll check in with these throughout the night or the afternoon, depends on where you are in the world. We'll head down for our starting lineup. A full pace lap gives you plenty of time, Justin, to warm up your tires and warm up your brakes and be ready for action in the next 4 miles.
And a lot of time to be able to think about things, be able to plot how you're going to be able to move around the racetrack. It's going to be an interesting race today to see who's going to be able to form things in the main pack, and better yet, who's going to form things for victory lane.
Let's have a look at your starting lineup. It's Michael Polasek on the front row. In the G-Force racing car, Matt Best in the Texas Speed Sim racing car, the 101, starts on the outside of that front row, followed by Matt Adams and Nate Stewart in row number 2, 3rd and 4th. And 5th and 6th, Joshua Soto in the number 10, Andre Castro in the 34. And in 7th, Nicholas Rice-Puto and Elliot Budzinski starts in 8th. 9th place, Jason Landry from Muffield Motorsports, and Blake Town into that new livery, the 57 simshop.com car, starts in 10th, Justin.
11th spot goes to Paul Darling. Jordan Rick Segrini will start alongside in his machine. Then it's Cameron Martineau. We've seen his viewpoint moments ago. He'll start alongside Logan McKenzie back in 14th. Nick Yanni starts in the next row. He'll start alongside Christopher Severt. Then Andrew Sharp, known in the league scene and doing well in this scene. He'll start alongside Maxwell Stallone. Then Chris Wentz starts 19th. Rounding in your top 20 is Yanni Lin.
And behind them, Michael Yanni, we documented the challenging qualifying session he had. He rolls off 21st place. Kevin Rold starts 22nd in the number 7. Then Max Hewitt and Ben Blaustein start in 23rd and 24th. And row 13, Devin Anderson in the 220 from Tech Sport Racing. Weston Workman from JBL and Copeland Motorsports starts in 26th. An all real-world driver row back there in row 13. Pierre-Olivier Cloutier, Ken Alseal start in 27th and 28th, followed by Micah Hendricks and Nicholas Sudik in 30th place.
31st going to Henry Drury tonight. He was in the 232s. Aiden Kirk on debut. Missed the starting grid, so he'll start towards the pit road. Austin Farr last at time, and Gianni Romano not able to make it here tonight.
No, he will not start this race, unfortunately. We head down the back straightaway. Drivers warming up their tires, warming up their brakes. This is a long pace lap. You have a lot of time to think, Justin, and I don't know that thinking is really what these drivers want to do. They're going to get inside their own heads here before they take this green flag.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time to say the very least, once again, once we get to the green flag, because how will they handle turn 1? Better yet, how will they handle turn 5 in the midst of the Hornet's Nest? That's my huge question mark right now is, will drivers play it safe? Will drivers play it aggressive? In the case of those in the mid-pack, we might see 3 wide pop up a little bit, but not expecting all too much. In our words, today going to be an excitingly wild one, I think, for the start.
And we had a lot of attrition back at VIR, so there's a lot of drivers that are just looking forward to getting a clean, good race in to get a top 10. I think we only had, 12 or 15 drivers on the lead lap at the end of VIR. It was a wet and wild one for sure, with drivers spearing off all on their own, some tangling together, but this is an entirely different challenge than VIR. And so is Barber, back to the fast-flowing courses, but a lot less top-end speed there when we head there next month. And we'll finish off the season at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which in a lot of ways sort of races like a street circuit with a lot of very slow stop-starts and then some fast-flowing sections to boot.
Once we get to that portion of the racetrack, Barber, I think, for that part of the schedule, I should say, it's going to be a wild time for the championship front runners because it's also a very difficult one to pass at. That finale, though, is going to be the one where a lot of people are going to put stars next to be able to perform well, knowing what's at stake then.
Down the back straightaway here. This is one of the most scenic areas of North American road racing. This backstretch area, this is a magical part of this racetrack, and I've had the opportunity to walk back there during a Fanatec GT World Challenge America race back in 2020, and I call it Motorsports Jurassic Park. It's like you're walking through the forest, the trees part, and you hear, Lamborghinis and Porsches and, all the GT cars ripping through the forest. But next week, we go racing for real here at Road America, and you, the fan, can head to Road America, get tickets now, and watch a field of 30-plus Toyota GR Cup cars take the green flag. But this week, we're in iRacing for the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League, round 5 of 7. The start zone is just past the bridge. There's a break in the concrete wall that is being used for the start of the start zone. Michael Polasek is in command of the field as we head up the hill towards the green flag. Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League in iRacing at Road America. Here we go. Green flag, and we're racing at the National Park of Speed. And Polasek gets a nice launch on the outside row, and already the driver's right lane gets a big shove down towards turn 1, Justin.
Perfect start for Polasek already. Matt Best getting shuffled up to the high side. Just didn't get the launch he was looking for. Contact in the heart of the field. One off. Bryce Pudo pushed off by Andre Castro as Castro got loose.
I think they all sort of kept it straight after that, though, so they're going to continue and correct. It is still argy-bargy, little slip back there for the 88 of Henry Drury, but it is aggressive. We anticipated this at the start, and they are really pushing.
Set 3 wide with Bryce Pudo rejoin as well. That's not going to be pretty when you have that on the opening lap, but now it's going to be where you need to sort out yourself, get into a rhythm, because it's going to be a long hour to be able to battle things around the track. Already a lot of people with the elbows out for turn 5.
Yeah, Wesson Workman was 3 abreast going down there. Devin Anderson was in the middle of a 3-wide scenario. I think everyone's been straight so far, though, through turn 5. That's a miracle in its own right. These drivers are of a very high caliber, but the aggression is through the roof right now. Joshua Soto is on the outside of Elliot Budzinski, and look at Polasek driving away from Matt Best. Trouble in the back. Kevin Rolls in it, and there's another car goes spearing off. That was Chris Wetz in the 71. And back across the road, 3 cars involved.
There's that argy-barginess I was talking about. Looks like Workman involved. Kevin Rold got turned around as well. And already, at least, Maxwell Stallone with meatball flags from it. Just watch this run as it's going to be the orange and white machine. That's Workman getting a little bit too tight on the door, turns rolled, and that stacks them all up. Oh,
big hit there for a couple cars. And then who spun? Was it the 71 that came across the road again after he got kind of tagged in it? He's next to the Blaustein in the silver 41. And then right here, he's going to almost get through, but he gets tagged by Yanni, and he goes around on his own, and then back across the racetrack, and he manages to get away with very little damage.
I think that all came down to a checkup effect almost as a result there, but just a lot of people not having great starts here. Castro all the way back to 11th after starting in 6th. He's going to be thinking, oh, big slide, another miscorrection.
And Cameron Martineau's in the wall, big time.
Looks like Bryce Pudo just corrected hard left.
Here's a look at it, leaving turn 14, big slip, back to the left. And the 38 was just a passenger, and that's a big hit. That'll be day over, I think, for Martineau, unfortunately. Especially at a track where aerodynamics are such a big deal. That car's wrecked.
I think Bryce Pudo might be in the same boat. He's still stuck in the grass. But that first lap was pretty wild, wasn't it? Already starting to see some squabbling build up with Severn and company. That's Nick Yanni. Just trying to battle it up for 13th. Others in the grouping, Lynn, Anderson, and Sharp going side by side.
Yeah, there's a little bit of argy-bargy still happening here midfield. Now, Polasek leads by 0.7 of a second, but he's being run back down. I think that was a concern I had, is if you get clear enough, we've seen Gresham Wagner do this in the real world, you can drive away from the draft. It makes it no fun for drivers that are trying to catch up to him. Andre Castro on McKenzie down here at turn 5, tight quarters here at this corner.
And trying to give the squeeze, just a little bit too much of a squeeze almost. McKenzie, good job to be able to keep it on the racetrack without an off track, really. But not a surprise to see Castro trying to get the elbows back out because he knows he's faster. He knows, though, that he lost a lot of time with his own mistake. Sharp trying to hold off Michael Yanni. He's already moving his way up in the top 20.
Yeah, he's got to go, right? He doesn't have a lot of time to linger. Trouble, and the 48 goes for a spin right off his nose. And that could draw the ire of the stewards, I feel. Let's have a look from high above.
Let's take a look indeed. I don't like the angle on this. Yeah, he turns in, turns it to Sharp, turns him.
That, we'll see what outcome there is from that, but Sharp rejoins 27th. 4 drivers out, Stallone, Rolled, Rice, Spudo, Martineau from lap 1 incidents. The rest of the field continues to scrap, and right now it's best of the rest, second. Well, actually the best, Matt Best in second place, then Matt Adams, Nate Stewart, Elliot Budzinski, and a whole train behind that.
So far this race going right to script. choo-choo train with the draft effect. But eventually this field, one by one, will start losing car after car in the draft. This train can't last forever to be 16 cars deep. And Michael is almost at the point where he's ready to break the toe of this draft.
Yeah, 0.8 of a second is pretty close to breaking it, but he has not quite gotten far enough away. Best and Adams are doing all that they can to stay up with him. Nate Stewart is in line. I think they know how critical this is. It's just like chasing Gresham Wagner in the real world. It's amazing how much the simulation reflects reality. Life imitates art, or art imitates life, either way.
I think it's both. I think art can imitate life, life can imitate art. Both can be influenced by both. So, in that regard though, this train, starting to see Matt Adams trying to get the push out. Matt Best is losing more and more ground in the corners. Here we go, he wants to try and leapfrog here with the use of a wiper blade.
Yeah, and I think this is, we're just trying to figure out which locomotive is strongest to pull the train at this stage, right? You know, you might not have the sharpest tool at the front necessarily, so you need to kind of shuffle around and figure out who's got the pace to keep up with Polasek. Little side-by-side between Stewart and Budzinski. These two are leaning on each other a little earlier in this race.
Yeah, a lot of leaning on by Budzinski in particular. Stewart has that preferred group. No, almost turned him. Nearly turned down across into his bumper.
That was close, and Josh Soto's got a great perspective of this on board, as I think there's been trouble behind, and Henry Drury's around with some damage at turn 8. He's missing the rear wing.
Yeah, it's not been great for Drury. He got up to 20th. That's a positive. Negative. It's becoming a common point.
Yeah, he just drifted across the car to his outside, which has sort of been the genesis of a handful of incidents today. Just drivers trying to commit back to the throttle and not quite being clear is what's really been the biggest incident cause so far.
Now, looks like we have a penalty. Correct me wrong, that looks to be, for the 13 with contact. That's going to be Workman, who survived the chaos on the opening lap. Not going to survive without any repercussions, though.
Yeah, a drive-through penalty at Road America is absolutely catastrophic. It is a really big penalty with how long the pit road is here. So we'll see if he serves it or if he'll try to argue his case. He usually doesn't go over very well. Once the decision is done, it's done. He will stay on the racetrack this time. He has a few more laps to run before he has to serve it, and no action on the incident at turn 14. That was with Nicholas Rice-Budo, and I think the reasoning for that was it was accidental, and now both cars are out.
Yeah, so Rice-Budo 1 lap down actually. It's still technically in it, but has towed, and the black flag's been officially served. Now to Workman. Anderson by the way. How has he been doing? Well, he's up 10. He's been doing a solid job cutting through this field, just quietly doing the job. Nick Yanni trying to fight for 15.
Yeah, and Devin's done a lot of racing on the official iRacing servers this week. The actual racing combination for iRacing's official events is here at Road America this week, so he's already had some laps. The 52 of Austin Farr is going to split them 3 wide all the while for the lead. Matt Adams goes to the top spot.
And Farr started just about dead last in this race. He is a driver with experience in the NASCAR College Series. Paul Racing Machine putting the lead down, so to speak, putting the power down to be able to charge this pack.
And there's a handful of groups that are now lighting the fuse on their battles here. Looking for third, Matt Best, Nate Stewart, Elliot Budzinski. They watch those front two battle, and it has just lit the fire and everyone else to go for it.
Yeah, everybody wanting to shuffle Best. Best, we know, has shown good qualifying speed, but hasn't had the best of luck in the races yet, and I think that's why people are saying, I'm not familiar with you, I'm going to shuffle you.
And side by side to the kink, this is usually a bad situation, but they're going to try it. The 4's on the outside, he's going to run into the dirt, but he'll keep the car straight, lose a spot, and headlights flashing on Josh Soto.
Starting to just give the cautious, patient blink rather than the quick blinking of the lights there. Good communication, but Best nearly turns himself again.
And the 4 is the middle 3 wide. This is not good for everyone behind them because the front 2 are getting away. They've already broken that draft. If they work together, they're going to be a hard duo to run down. Everyone's scrapping for the last step on the podium, and we're only 11 minutes into this 60-minute race.
Yeah, this is exactly what the top 2 want. By the way, Adams in the race lead this lap with how things have gone. These drivers not playing the patience game, and they're going to cost themselves draft and lots of valuable time if they don't sort themselves in quickly.
They are already costing themselves lots of time. No further action on the incident with the 92. Ruled that there was some network issues there that prompted some of the contact. Door-to-door through turn 1. This is a very fast turn. It's deceivingly quick, actually, and they've done it successfully. Look at this pack.
Surprised there hasn't been more contact yet with how they've been racing. There's some.
Oh, boy.
Matt Best got some damage, I think, nearly from it. And now there comes the whole cavalcade of speed.
Yeah, this is where it gets frustrating. Best is just going to have to hold drivers right. Blake Townend's in the middle there. He's going to get squeezed to the left. And the leaders are trying to take some attention for themselves. Change the lead there as Polasek goes to the top spot. They're still 3 wide down into turn 5.
The back and forth, and here we go. Castro getting turned around, and that wasn't going to work.
No. And I think the Matt Best machines also spun around here as well. And this is just, this math wasn't going to work out here. Castro was on the inside, but just not quite enough room there for those cars. They all spin and to drop a whole bunch of spots.
Castro's route going from rough to start to very bad in this swing. And he's got a meatball flank. He's got to come down and get repairs done. So suspension damage is going to kill his race.
Yeah, and he didn't. He had a lot to gain at VIR. Started at the back of the field, ended up finishing, I believe, in the top 10 after a long day there. And this is going to be an even longer one. The 2 leaders have pulled 1.6 seconds clear of Nate Stewart and Budzinski, but they don't seem that content with riding in line. We saw Polasek take that lead right back, and I think he'd just like to dispatch Adams at this stage.
Yeah, at this point, just wants to shuffle off like a coat maybe, but I don't know if that's going to happen like that. I think right now at this point, this is your top 2 for now in terms of the race pace. Now I'm curious, now that things have calmed back down the air pack, will we see them close back up, or will it just be these 2 using each other as drafting devices to be able to run away for the rest of the pack?
I think the latter is what I'd expect, but we'll see if there's a little bit of coordination from the trailing cars led by Stewart. And a lap ago, they were 2 and 3 wide here on the start-finish line. Now they're single-filed out, broken into groups of 3 and 4. So how quickly things change here just in the first 15 minutes. And the attrition level has been pretty high. Drury is out. Yanni is also out, the 92. He didn't get a penalty, but ended up calling it quits. That is going to be huge for the championship situation for him.
Yeah, that's going to open it wide open for Polasek. So all Polasek needs to do is survive now. Just stay clean. Don't get into risky situations for the race lead here. By the way, Stewart is closing in with the rest of the choo-choo train as Adams goes for the swap.
Yeah, and I think this is why they're not quite content running nose to tail. Well, they're trying to swap pretty efficiently, it looks like, but I'm not sure it's working out well for them here. Late on the brakes into 5, and there's Stewart pulling the train forward. And you mentioned a gain. It was about 2/10 quicker than the race leader last time around.
This is a teammate to Adams, keep in mind. So this is somebody that might be able to close up and take advantage with the leaders as time progresses here. We see the times on screen. Looking at some of the air packs though, Workman yet to serve the penalty, believe. He's trying to still fight on the racetrack with Austin Farr.
Yeah, and it's going to be a futile battle, I think, to continue in, but he'll stay out there. He's not really running for points because he's a real-world competitor, so he might as well just stay out there till the DQ, I suppose, but either way, your race is effectively over. And the 220 of Devin Anderson has gotten a warning for avoidable contact at turn 12. That was at Canada Corner 2 laps ago.
But give huge credit to Farr. 33rd to 12th in 15 minutes is a massive feat. This was the kind of speed we were needing to see from Yanni for the championship. But today, he's taken advantage of all the incidents around him. He's also taken big advantage of all the checkups around him, but also has been efficient on his passes to get himself right in this position to be right on the cusp of the top 10 already.
Into turn 14 here. Still little mini battles just outside of the top 10, but the one for third is under fire. Nate Stewart and Budzinski are side by side. They're making progress still on those front runners, Justin, but this might pause that for a little while.
And again, this comes down to, it's a race, may as well pass, right? Good heads-up move, Stewart electing to break early to go back in line, not make it too aggressive so they don't lose too much time. But right now, this is down to, if I have the momentum, I have to take it somewhere. And in this case, a lot of these drivers are saying, we got to take the momentum somewhere. We can't just push it to the bumper. That's not allowed. You have to be able to put it somewhere, that energy. And they're saying, we may as well just swap draft.
Yeah, and actually, you bring up a good point that we hadn't touched on yet. Bump drafting in the real world and here, you're not allowed to lock bumpers in any stretch, right? So you can't stay pushing someone like it's Talladega. So that means that you have to do this leapfrog maneuver that we're seeing. And this is something that is in place in the real world. The rules effectively say no contact is allowed, and it doesn't specify that front to rear is allowed ever. So bump drafting is highly discouraged. And so you've got to be a bit more creative. And when you say take the momentum and do something with it, you're absolutely right, because you can't transfer it to somebody else. You need to take it or lose it with your own brakes. So that's no fun.
It's never fun when you end up getting penalized or anything along those lines, but it's down to, again, the smartness of needing to know what to do in that scenario. You just lift, you're costing yourself possible speed in general on the racetrack, and you're costing yourself a missed opportunity. Hey, give credit to Darling, though, 11th to 5th. Solid for someone who didn't take part in final practice.
Yeah, Darling is a driver we have to keep our eyes on. He's not a real-world competitor as far as the Toyota GR Cup North America Series, but he does compete in a handful of grassroots road racing series, and he's quite good. So he knows how to get around Road America. He was here just a couple of weeks ago, actually. I don't know if he was competing or not, but I believe he was at least at the racetrack. And quiet and reserved and in position for a top 5 or better. And he hasn't really been in position to battle for a win yet, but his patience might just pay off at a track like this.
It's a track that rewards patience, too. Like, in the long run, I mean. Patience is a virtue, but better yet, if you go uber aggressive and try and pass every single time, not going to make friends, and better yet, you're going to open up opportunities for people to say what in their mind may say, hey, this person's not going to work with me, why would I work with them? So you have to be willing to work with other drivers if you want to succeed here.
Munchie Lin down in 10th place, fully belted in and everything. Down here at turn 3 with Savert behind him and Jordan Rick Segrini ahead of him. We hadn't really talked about Jordan a lot, but another competitor from BSI Racing in the real world, and was at VIR last month. Have not one of his best weekends there, had some issues in what was a pretty chaotic weekend, but it was Matt Adams right back by Polasek, but Stewart, Budzinski, and the rest are there.
This took all of how many minutes? 5-6 minutes, give or take. So that's something I think the drivers need to know for a barometer in case they get uber aggressive again later on. If you want to get the moves done, you have to be lightning quick, otherwise you are not going to have a chance with under 10 minutes to go for the race win. Yeah,
this is probably not what Polasek wanted to see. I think had Yanni been up at the front, it might have been a 2-car race like it was at VIR, but because Yanni's out, Polasek, there's no other driver that I think can quite match his pace without dragging the field with them. And so that's put Polasek in an interesting spot where now he has to combat the rest of the field, something he hasn't really had to do since before COTA 3 rounds ago.
Yeah, it's going to be one where in 40 minutes time we'll get the true answer though. If he does it right, it looks like, though, Budzinski's saying, I want to go. How about that? He's going for the lead.
And big lunge into Canada corner. Can he get it slowed down? He does, but that's going to hold up some momentum on the inside. Adams will be able to match it, I think, on driver's left through Billy Mitchell Bend here, turn 13. Battle for the lead is on here at Road America, and this is going to blow the can wide open here because Stewart is going to have a run into turn 14.
Didn't elect to take it yet. Gonna have to remain patient right behind Polasek. Budzinski also having to duck back in line, so back to single file they work. Now, it looks like we're going full on defensive. They were practicing this a lot in final practice.
And look at this, can't block, you only get one move, and it can't be in reaction to a trailing car. You have to make it before. So Adams goes on defense. Budzinski goes to driver's left. They're going to be side by side through turn one. Tight quarters here, very tight through the first turn.
Good work by Budzinski on the outside. First major lead change of the race in a while. Now Nate Stewart, you said he had the run for 14. Well, he just pushed Polasek wide accidentally.
Yeah, and he's going to lose a lot of momentum on corner exit, so Paul Darling will take advantage of that, pull even with him, and he's going to have assistance from a pair of teammates, Logan McKenzie, and who's that right behind him? That's Jason Landry, I believe. Landry and McKenzie, and here comes Budzinski again, and Adams.
Able to get the swap, and now a couple teammates trying to work together to fight through this pack. Looks like they're choosing McKenzie is at least to wait. No place to take the poke, no place to take the run with Darling side by side.
Yeah, they can't afford to do this for very long though. Already 0.6 of a second up to third place Polasek, and Darling's going to hang on for a time being. But look how much of a gap is grown in just two corners of side-by-side battling. That's why Adams and Budzinski, even cooperating, weren't able to completely distance themselves from the rest of the field.
This is exactly what we were talking about, where 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. I think I just described a 7-dimensional house almost. Those doesn't last, doesn't help for long. It doesn't work on time. You have to be single file to maximize the time. And while that may be something a lot of drivers don't want to hear, that's something that patience needs to be rewarded. As we talked about it, single file running is the patience game.
Now, Elliot Budzinski, let's talk about his season so far, because he has had really good pace, but he sits 27th in the point standings. That's because he had finishes of 24th, 35th, and 31st. It has not been his season. He started on pole at Coda. He started 9th at Sebring and 14th at Sonoma. He's got single car pace. He just hasn't been able to stitch it together so far. Is this his day finally, up inside the top 3 right now?
It's too early to tell, but I think Budzinski is, at the very least, comfortable is the main thing. He's comfortable with what he needs to do, not like to take the pass this time, too early on for the swap draft. But he is, at the very least, feeling out what the competition's going to do. I think Budzinski, at the very least, could be in line for a top 10 here with this pack. A lot of squabbling, 3 wide in other packs.
Yeah, it's Pierre-Olivier Cloutier in the orange car, Ken Hauseal and Micah Hendricks. Hauseal's going to cross over here, and they're battling about 6 seconds behind the next group of cars. And Hauseal is through to 16th. Back up front, here comes Budzinski. Big run through the Moraine sweep here, and he'll pull even. Will Polasek sit back and watch this, or will he get involved in the action?
I think it's too early to get involved from second spot, per se, or third spot, but Adams doesn't want to give it up so easily. Just took a hard left to get alongside. But I will say this, those who are in the back of the top 10 eventually are going to get antsy, and we're seeing the antsiness from Town End.
Jordan Rixagrini up to 9th place. Driver that in the real world has shown a lot of patience and perseverance. His BSI Racing Team cars. Kind of sits in the catbird seat here a bit for a top 5 once we see the fuse get lit again for the front runners. We saw this at the start. We saw this a few minutes ago when everyone decides to, attack. It just quickly turns into a furball of of chaos and fighting and hissing and scratching, and I anticipate that a few more times in this race before the checkered falls.
A lot more times, like right now, for example. Why not? Again, runs there, momentum's there. The difference is for Budzinski, never mind, he just gave it up this time, different line. I think these drivers realize that the draft's going to take you past someone past you eventually. It's just where do you want to be the leader, and testing out where do you want to be the leader for the final lap later on.
I want to take a note of the second group led by Josh Soto. It's got Austin Farr, Nick Yanni, Ben Blaustein in it. And have a look on the left-hand side of the screen. The last lap that Soto ran was a 2:32.812. That was nearly a full second quicker than anyone in that front group. So this next group of 4 is in really good shape to run those leaders down.
In perfect shape, if anything, especially since, again, they keep squabbling a little bit, getting a bit blocky for the race lead. It's going to take probably an hour, 10 minutes worth of effort, single file effort possibly, for the next pack to be able to get something done here. But all it takes is get within a second and a half, and then you're golden to get the draft back.
The same can't be said about the next group. Ken Houseal's leading that one, but they have not been able to coordinate enough to go quicker. Devin Anderson's leading Hewitt and Best. They're also not going quicker, but I do think that from 12th on down to 15th, they could rejoin this main group as Wan Shi Lin and Chris Severt go side by side down the back straightaway here, and the 30 car will pull even. And for the lead once again, it's almost like clockwork every time at 5.
Every time, just swap it in turn 5 out of the Bahrain sweep, swap it maybe through kettle bottoms for Canada corner, and then you're settled on in for the rest of the lap until you swap it again. It's very much become very rhythmatic, a very patternistic type of race, and it's not a surprise.
No, it's not. I mean, we kind of anticipate this coming to Road America. Maybe not so much with this car, and I think when you watch the race next week on GT World, when we go racing for real, that you'll tend to see smaller packs rather than one larger one, but we will see. I really like the progress that the second group is making. I know Soto is capable of a top 5, and Austin Farr, he really needs this pack to catch because he doesn't want to stunt his momentum. How much he's climbed from the tail of the field up to 13th, he would like to continue that, and he will only be able to do it if they catch this front group. So Soto and Farr have a lot of reasons to work together.
Yeah, 2:13.1, you said last time by, half second, and there we go again. Like clockwork. Matt Adams this time taking the lead. And each time they do that, that's going to check up that pack just a little bit. And that every time they do that, that's what Farr needs to have happen. That's what Soto needs to have happen. That's what Nick Yanni needs to happen. For them to just chip away at the gap marginally.
Running out on the rest of the curbing at turn 14. We'll see lap times on the left this time by. So obviously Matt Adams' 13-second lap, that'll get corrected as he crosses the stripe here. So it'll be he had an internet discontinuity, but a 2:33.3. And so what does Soto run? A 2:32.9. So another half-second gain for that trailing group. That bodes well for them as these front runners continue to scrap amongst themselves. We will have a much larger pack here by the time this race is over. We're not even halfway done. We're getting close, but not quite.
Of note, some of the others, as I said, are starting to flick off that main pack too. You still keep it on second pack, but Lynn has almost lost touch with that pack as well. And eventually that's going to become a bridge car. And that would be very beneficial if there's a bridge car to be able to close in and utilize them to close the draft. Looks like some squabbling mid-pack.
Yeah, there's Paul Darling under fire from Jason Landry and Logan McKenzie, a couple teammates there, as Landry deep on the brakes into 5 here. So we talk about bridge cars here. That's a term, I know what you're talking about. I haven't heard that term used. So just for those that might not have heard this before, Justin, explain to me the concept of a bridge car in pack racing.
A bridge car is basically if someone starts to lose the draft but is still in drafting distance, but there's another pack that gets within the draft distance of driver falling behind, they can be utilized to pick up the draft and then close up more substantially, essentially be in the main draft without being in the main draft per se. Now, it takes time for it to close up, as well as we've seen today. but as a bridge car, it speeds up the process by a good couple laps per se for a race like this, compared to just flat out trying to catch up to the pack.
Yeah, it really just makes it easier to catch that lead group when there's another car that's trundling along just at the limits of that lead pack draft. And you see there's Soto now. They're 2.2 seconds back from Wan Shi Lin and the leaders. Tick-tock back to the front here at turn 12. Ooh, crossover though on exit.
Budzinski, good cross. Just trying to keep him off guard. Just trying to get that preferred line to be able to retake the swap, maybe get the lead lap, just continue to trade this. At this point, Polasek is just plotting and planning, I think, right now. He's content. He's got track position. He's got a good points haul. Knows the style of racing on hand. It's too early to take it aggressive to be able to rip away with the spots with some of the other swap cars.
Oh, big look over to the right for Budzinski and Adams. Adams is going to pull to the left. We'll see if Polasek chooses one or if he's going to lift.
Looks like Polasek chooses one, but also doesn't have the speed to be able to take alongside Budzinski fully, so just takes the patient back in the line, works back in the group. 2x2 forming up behind him, though. Yeah, that's Darling now, who's managed to hold off Landry and McKenzie in one corner, had a look at Stewart down into turn 3, and now the teammates are side by side leaving that third corner, and Blake Townend with assistance from the 39, the 18, and the 30. All right in this mix. 2.7 back to Soto from Wan Shi Lin. I think that gap grew more than gained in terms of the second pack this past lap. But looks like a lot of people in the mid-pack starting to get a little bit impatient. There's an estimated 11 to go, give or take. There's not a lot of time to work with, so a lot of these people are starting to think about the lap counter.
Yeah, 28 minutes. I mean, it goes by pretty quick here at Road America. You don't get that many laps as Starling has a little contact with Jason Landry there, and he's going to let both those teammates go. That was tight quarters racing between these two. Here's a look.
Yeah, just maybe thought there'd be more give or take. Instead, all the way to the curbing, he had to go just hitting the grass, in fact, Kyle, just to be able to hold on to it. Very lucky he didn't slide up and push them both off the track.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet in race control as of late, too. I think we're due for some drama. And Adams, Budzinski, Polasek, still your top three. Stewart, Landry. And you were right about Soto losing some ground to the lead pack in the first half of the lap, but they've taken almost a second out of it in the second half of the lap.
Well, that's because of all the squabbling in the mid-pack. That's really spread them apart and pushed them back in their grasp. As a matter of fact, I think Soto's just about there. He's just about drafting distance.
And not far, is he? So, little contact there for the lead. And our steward telling me he doesn't want any drama. I don't necessarily. It depends on what kind of drama we're talking about. Maybe not the kind that you want to rule on, but absolutely it's been dramatic at the front of the field under the start gantry here. 26 minutes to go, and Soto's just outside of draft distance from Townend, but I think by the end of this lap, if they continue catching at this rate, they will get there. And look at this scrum for the lead.
Polasek thought about it again for a moment. Now Nate Stewart trying to force his hand a little bit, trying to jump past him. Now it's the matter, does he have the give or take? No, he feels better on the brakes. Polasek does not want to give up third. That seems to be clear. He's content in third. He's not content to be fourth. Under the Sargento Bridge, 1.6 back to Soto. I don't know if they're going to be able to carry their momentum forward past Blake Townend, but with the pace that we've seen Soto have, it could absolutely be the case. Here comes Landry on Stewart. That's for fourth place. Now another jump. Jason Landry doing a very solid job this race. It's one of his best races of the season. Same for McKenzie. And Nate Stewart being put on the back foot because of this teammate pressure. Oh, really tight on the exit at turn 7 here. Paul Darling looks to the right. He's going to fill the gap in behind the 4 of Nate Stewart into turn 8. The 39 will choose driver's left.
And it's just like Tetris with race cars right now into the braking zones every time, just trying to see what shape will fit where.
It's been like almost like Connect 4 as well. Just trying to see what dots are going to be connected compared to which dots are going to be blocked off. And so far, we've seen that really come into play a lot on who's been broken up. And that second pack, it's just about there. Soto is right now in drafting distance comfortably, and he's actually ditching Farr and company.
Yeah, he's there now for sure as Townend goes alongside Wan Shi Lin at turn 12. Farr and Soto are now in the mix there. Again, all in the draft at this stage, so they'll all be considered one group as the 30 pulls even through Billy Mitchell Bend. That's a tricky corner to go side by side through. It's uphill, it's blind. It crests over, and you're carrying a lot of lateral momentum there as you swing back to the left to get set up for 14.
Yeah, but the thing is, the more they start to fight, the more that we might see Lin lose draft. We talked about the bridge car. Right now, the bridge is starting to collapse.
Paul Darling out of line, and Adams and Budzinski again trading the lead. I don't know what the stat is for lead changes, but it is significant.
I think they've changed the lead every single lap at least twice. It's just the matter of who leads said lap that's changed as well, back and forth each and every time on the pattern.
Blake Townend is a little wide at turn 1, kicked up some dust and debris. And here we go again, still side by side for the top spot here at Road America. Just over 20 minutes to go. Landry and Stewart side by side for 4th again. Into 5 for the braking zone.
And again, like clockwork. Jason Landry, though, he yet again is under attack. Nate Stewart wants his spots back, not afraid to use all the runoff space to do it.
No, it is really tight between these two. And you have to know exactly where the corners of your car are. The visibility in this GRD6 is immense, and that helps you place the car very well on the road. But in the sim world, if you're not in VR, it can be a little tricky to judge where the corners of your car are. So, see if that's kind of been the cause of a few incidents so far tonight.
A lot of incidents, actually. It has calmed down a bit since then. That's the major thing. We still see a lot of good flow and rhythm for these main drivers. There are 23 still on the main lap, at the very least. It's been a good race. It's been a very clean race up front.
Yep. Well, they still got 22 minutes to turn that around, don't we? But Nate Stewart and Polasek, they're door-to-door again. Stewart was unable to complete this pass the last time he attempted to steal it at turn 3. And Polasek has just been so strong on defense here. See if anyone gives the 4 any assistance. He's going to get re-cleared by the entrance to 14, but now up the straightaway. Michael is able to just leave that with so much momentum that there's no attack now on the front stretch.
Now he's going to need a hope for some competition to be able to close up for a few minutes. He's lost a fair amount of ground as a result of that squabbling of half a second. McKenzie, he just wants to keep up with his teammate. And the problem is, every time he goes out to pull out, the draft just much stronger in the main line.
Door to door for 7th place. Wan Shi Lin, remember he was at the tail of this pack before. He's kind of ponied his way up to 9th. He's trying to make more inroads there up at the front. But okay, so what we've seen so far is a lot of cooperation with these front runners. We saw this especially with Paul Darling at times, just giving up the pass in the moment to save it for a later opportunity. When is go time? Because they've already been pretty racy at the front, but when it's go time, everyone in this front pack is going to feel like they have a shot to win, and it's going to get pretty exciting.
Depends how far up you are. 3 wide, hold on a minute. This is a little bit too early for some. Soto saying, I've got to go. And that just pushed very much Townend right out of the pack. Those in the back group, it's on right now. You only have 8 laps to do it. For the others, you can wait as long as 2, maybe 1 lap to go in this type of a race.
Yeah, Josh Soto came from a long ways back to make that pass happen. Watch him in the white and black car center screen. Wanshi Lin in the blue and oranges alongside Townend. Soto sees the opportunity, lunges down the inside, gets 2 for 1 here. And leaves all the room there at the apex on exit, a little bit of a squeeze. But Soto up to 9th. And a pretty efficient pass, I'd say.
Yeah, that took a lot of squeezing, though. Obviously didn't get the call. That was 3 wide for a moment. That nearly caused absolute chaos, but Soto not taking any patience games here. He wants to be in the conversation. That's what I just mentioned. For him to be in the conversation, he needs to start going now. For the others in the conversation, they can wait a little bit.
Paul Darling has been slowly drifting backwards. Now might lose 6th spot. I think he's going to have to start getting those elbows out a bit, at least on defense. We know Paul's quick, but is he too nice?
I think he's been fine. I don't think he is worried right now about the situation. I think he's just letting the race go where it may. He's still up +5. He's still in the main pack. What else can you say? He's happy to be along for the ride, I think you could argue, for this point. Nate Stewart going for the 3rd spot again.
And will he get it this time? He's got a big run and draft from the 91, who's the leader, and he will take 2nd as well on Matt Adams, and he'll run Matt right out to the edge of the curbing at the exit of turn 1, and Polasek back to 4th place.
Oh, this could change up the pattern a little bit now. Now it's the question, does Stewart have the pace?
Oh, trouble, the 39 spins, turn 3, and he's gonna get all the way to the wall but not impact it, and just like that, he's out of the mix.
Had a feeling something was going to happen eventually. In this case, just turned down a little bit. Might have been a small bit of air, but Christopher not going to be happy as he was on the curbing at that moment.
And Budzinski's way wide at turn 5. Nate Stewart to the lead. Adams to the way inside. It's getting aggressive now. There's still a lot of time on the board, but I think the drivers are feeling the intensity start to rise here.
A little bit earlier than I would have thought by a mile. But right now, Stewart having to slow up. Oh, that's a hearty cut to the left.
Yeah, the aggression is up for Nate Stewart. He hasn't been in this position yet this season. He would love to walk away from Road America with a victory. And of the front runners here, Matt Adams has yet to win this season. He is down to 19th in the championship standings, hasn't had a finish better than 9th, so he's in a great position. He's also been at the pointy end of some Canadian eSports championships, running some rear-engine cars. Nate Stewart hasn't won a race just yet. Elliot Budzinski, we documented his season. The results haven't paid out to the expectation. Polasek has won 2, the last 2, in fact.
It looks like Budzinski in line to be able to retake 2nd spot possibly here, yes. But, oh no!
Soto hard in the wall at Canada Corner, and all that effort is going to get pushed by the wayside with contact at turn 12.
I believe that was with McKenzie this time.
Same thing again, just tracking wide or the outside car turning in.
Yeah, racing incidents are rising. Yeah, that was a little bit column A, column B.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure, and it's so frustrating. You know, we don't see incidents like that a lot in the real world. I don't know what it is about the sim, but drivers are just so desperate to cling to that inside to clear the driver beside them. And it just has not worked out tonight. And no further action on the incident between the 55 and 39. And I'd be surprised if it was a different outcome there for the incident at 12.
And I think it's all really kicked off for the back grouping. McKenzie yet again trying to make some inroads. What did I say? If you're this far back, you've got to eventually make some moves. And right now, they're really trying to push hard to be able to make set moves right now. Rick Segrini starting to make some inroads.
Wanshi Lin wants a look at Nick Yanni in that 43. Younger brother to the runner-up of the championship standings. Little argy-bargy here for 2nd place. Matt Adams was out to a half a second advantage, but it's all gone now, or close to it, at 5.
The more they keep alongside like this, the more they're going to just destroy their runs now, though. Well, remember the start of the race where this happened. You just can't keep it for long, just like this. You have to be able to single file to be able to close up and then plan and plot the move properly without costing yourself too much time.
So after another aggressive lap a few moments ago, we're back to single file and that age-old accordion effect that this racetrack produces with cars of this caliber. A couple laps of calm, a lap of chaos, a couple laps of calm. 15 minutes to go. That's about 6 laps when we cross the stripe next time by.
And this race has kind of flown on by, hasn't it? With how the pattern's gone even. Nate Stewart not done for second. This is exactly what Adams wants to see, though. Them focusing more on second than the race lead.
Yeah, I think Stewart would be wise to push Budzinski here. I think the best opportunity he has is exactly how he got the lead the first time, which was the drama between those front two. And look at this, even for 13th, Ken House-Seal, Blake Townend, a little contact there into 12th. And the 39 and 10, this is kind of where the remains of the spins from that first group have all landed.
Townend seems to be much more comfortable on the throttle points. Just waiting for a place to get a good corner exit. Be able to lunge alongside the 23 of House-Seal. And he's coming in. Townend's got a black flag in sim, so I can think he hit the incident limit.
Oh, that's frustrating. That is going to cost him big time. Side by side into one. Budzinski takes the lead away from Adams. Nate Stewart's right there. Polasek is there. And does your chess match begin now? Maybe not your moves, but you got to think 5 moves ahead. And I'd have to imagine that Polasek is in that position right now.
I think he's already in that position right now on the chessboard. And the problem is his chess pieces initially were plotting 3rd place rather than 4th place for Ascend. Don't think you win it from 4th. So he's got to find a way to get back across Stewart, take away a spot from Stewart in the next couple laps here, to then be in prime position to be able to take advantage of a side-by-side like this one.
Into turn 5, Budzinski runs Adams all the way to the grass. And they're leaning on each other up into turn 6, elbows out, mirror to mirror.
A little bit naughty on the push out. Budzinski getting a little bit too antsy with that type of a move. We know the swaps are back and forth, but at the same time, you can't do a push like that and nearly cause an incident for the win.
52 of Austin Farr has been warned for avoidable contact. How about 3 wide back here? Aiden Kirk, Blake Townend, and that's the Max Hewitt car, and into the fence goes the 34. Is that Hewitt? I thought that was that not Andre Castro there? It was.
No, that was Chris Wetz, I think. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Chris Wetz was the car. Andre Castro is out. That's going to put both the ERA cars out of the race.
Yeah, that's the same livery. That's why I got confused there. Thanks, Justin. And yeah, the 34 has been out for a while, but Wetz will join his teammate now. Lots of attrition here in the drama at Road America. Big crashes. This is what this place can breed. You have to respect the racetrack and your competitors if you want to make it to the end. We're in the final 12 minutes, and the front pack is down to 12 competitors. There's a trailing pack led by Severt and House-Seal that's got another 5 cars in it. I don't know that they've got enough time unless they start taking 2 seconds per lap out of the leader's pace, and that's just not going to happen.
Oh, they're starting to door each other, though, down the straightaway. Adams making contact with Budzinski. Now really leaning on them. Not sure why they're starting to door each other like this.
I think one started it and the other wants to finish it, but then the other thought the other started it. That's just how these things tend to go. You know, it's like your little brother, you know. He did it, I did it, doesn't matter. They're both doing it now. Nate Stewart right in behind. Is he going to push the 17 or pop out of line with help from Polasek? No, he's going to stay in line.
Just has to take the run somewhere else. He's going to get sandwiched. So like Stewart going to work with Budzinski, interesting enough.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting battle down into 5. Look at Adams swing out wide. Try to ramp the outside here of this 5th turn. He's in the runoff. Polasek's out there as well. That'll be a 1X. You have to factor in your incident limit now. No further action on the 10 and 14 contact at Canada corner, by the way.
Coming up to 4 estimated laps to go. Stewart keeping it inside for hurry downs. And he's trying to get a hurry on and quickly to be able to make these passes. It's going to be difficult, though. The more this race goes on, the more difficult the moves, more door contact up there as we look behind.
Yeah, there's just a lot of big dives right now, and if this race doesn't end in tears for the front runners, it's going to be pretty spectacular to watch. But I have a sinking feeling with how aggressive these drivers are being that we could see a major upset at the tail end of this one. Don't look away. Under 10 minutes to go, and you better be spending it here with us at iRacing at Virtual Road America in the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Darling in the grass at the exit of the kink. Here comes Stewart for second as Adams tries to drive away.
Adams needs to run. He needs to focus now with how hard they're fighting for second. It's again exactly what Adams wanted to see. A lot of squabbling, a lot of infighting, rather than drivers working together to reach a common goal. At this point, it might be nay hard to close up to Adams. Not impossible, but hard with 4 laps, and now especially with Budzinski using contact on Stewart.
Yeah, they just came together there, and so Darling's going to give Polasek a big shove. That's going to bury Nate Stewart here on the front straightaway. It's over a second now, I think, or almost a second, I should say, as Adam leads the fields across the stripe here. 8 minutes, 45 seconds to go. He's not quite clear. I still think they can run him down, but if they fight more, as you pointed out, Justin, Adams could walk away with this one.
Now they need to get the heads on. A bit of a squeeze on Darling. He's not going to be smiling about that one. Just a tight window for Stewart. Now teammates fighting side by side again.
Yeah, and he was flashing his headlights. He didn't appreciate that very much. But it's just the nature of the beast. This racetrack is enormous, but they're only using the tiniest margins of it when they get to the apexes of these turns. Here comes Polasek.
Just trying to follow in the draft of Adams. And looks like he's going to easily slipstream on by. Budzinski doesn't want any more bleeding to happen, just trying to block off hard.
Yeah, but he's got to be cautious, though. He's got an avoidable contact warning already. That could escalate if he starts throwing blocks and things. I think the steward is very closely watching the aggression level of each of these drivers and making sure it doesn't get out of hand, because it only takes one little slip up when you're racing drivers from around the country to turn into a much bigger deal.
Yeah, now with 7 minutes to work with, oh boy, Rick Segrini around.
Yeah, he just had it all wrong going down into turn 8. He's going to get the wall. I don't know if there was some contact. I think he just outbraked himself. Did a pretty nice job gathering it up, but still caught the fence.
Yeah, and he destroyed the suspension too. He's got a meatball flag as well, mandatory repair flag.
That's catastrophic for him. Had a good race going, but just like I said, the tiniest mistake can take you out of the running in a heartbeat. Look at Nate Stewart on the attack button again. That being the accelerator pedal through the kink and into Canada corner. Polasek around the outside at Canada corner. He wants P2, and that's the last thing Matt Adams wants to see.
Yeah, and right now Polasek trying to have to play defense on 2 different lanes. It looks like Budzinski yet again not afraid to lean on drivers. Polasek needing to look through the mirror, but also look at the windshield. He is in range in the next lap to be able to get to Adams again.
Yeah, he is close enough to draft up to him. I don't know that Stewart and Budzinski are going to get through turn 1 without contact or dramas. These two have just had enough of each other at this stage, I think. Paul Darling is going to insert himself right into the middle of this. 6 minutes to go. There they go.
3 to go. Here we go. Budzinski, not a shock.
And that's a big hit for the 91, and I saw that one coming. Just too much leaning on each other in the closing stages, and I don't know that Stewart left them any space really on the inside there.
I think the give and take was gone by that point almost. Budzinski was over-aggressive on the send, and he was all the way on the curbing and got turned around.
Yeah, that one I'd be surprised if that wasn't called on the 4 at this stage. But here comes Michael Polasek just like that to the lead while we were watching that replay, so he's put himself back up to the front.
And now the back and forth is on, and this is exactly what we were waiting on to see what would happen between these two, and better yet, what would happen with Polasek in this position.
30-second penalty for the 22 of Max Hewitt for contact resulting in an incident, but I think he's already called it quits. And the action has ramped up. Coming into 2 laps to go next time by. Nick Stewart's in the grass there, leaving turn 8, and we've really kind of narrowed it down. But look at Paul Darling into 3rd place, and he is in a great spot here if he can push Matt Adams back up to Polasek, but it's going to be so hard to steal the lead back from the 45.
Right now, this is going to be a prime situation for some, but right now, for Adams, he's in position for the swap around again. Polasek knows what's at stake. But does Darling take it too? He's thinking about it.
He lifted. He's in a great spot right now, I think. Little brake lights through the center of the turn there for Polasek as he tucked back in line.
Yeah, right now, Darling needs to be very tactile with this. He makes the wrong move, he likely costs himself and whoever he's passing the race win. He's trying to play this smart already on the sorry button on the radio.
Now remember that there are cash prizes on the line for race wins and for the championship. $10,000 in total. So there is a lot of reasons why you'd want to get your elbows out here in the last couple of laps. And another penalty, this one a more significant one, 87. Nicholas Sudik drive-through penalty for contact. And we're still side by side for the lead here. Adams and Polasek. Paul Darling is watching it. And now Landry and McKenzie, the teammates, are right in the mix as well.
No place for them to go, though. No place for them to go with under 2 estimated laps to go. And now Adams, good job to keep it side by side this lap. Didn't get Polasek to be able to get the full swap around. And now Darling looks to draft off him.
Down the back straightaway here. Into turn 5. The purple car, Matt Adams, has not had the races go his way. Polasek has won by just a couple hundredths of a second the last few rounds. Big slide for Adams. Darling looks to the left, but he can't go anywhere as the 45 takes the lead away.
Adams got too much curbing, and that might be very beneficial for Polasek here. Jason Landry, great job to be able to get a heads up. Tried to follow Polasek initially, and now does Landry have enough pace in him to close 7/10 in a lap?
Going to be a lot of work here. They're going to have to be perfect. Austin Farr up to 5th place in that 52. What a drive he has had today. He's going to have to be proud of that one. All the while, there's another little group back here. Ken House-Seal trying to get a top 10. He will not be able to unless someone from this main group drops out. But I think the potential for that is high here with a lap and a half left in this race.
This is going to be a nerve-wracking time and event right now for these drivers. Can Polasek hold on? That buffer did get eaten up before by Adams once already. Adams already to 2nd. I don't know if Adams can comfortably take this move without costing himself. He's going to try and push Landry.
You got to have to work together. If they run side by side for more than a corner on this next lap, they're not going to have enough time to catch the leader. Co-opetition at its fullest. Stewart and Yanni, Nick Yanni that is, they were door-to-door for a moment. And now crossover, and the 4 looks to the inside at 14. That's going to get tight here on the apex.
And now this, oh, here we go again. Stewart getting turned.
Yeah, and he'll go off. White flag in the air. One more time around Road America. The battle is on for 2nd place. Who is going to bring the heat to Polasek? There will be a post-race investigation for the contact with the 4 and the 91, but both of them are out of the mix now for the win.
Now Adams saying, I've got to go. I can't wait.
He's wide.
Oh, that's not going to help at all. Landry, good crossover.
And Polasek is watching all this in the mirror, and if he wasn't so in the moment, he'd be smiling. Landry takes 2nd place away, and the guys in 3rd and 4th aren't aligned enough to give him a push.
This is exactly what Polasek needed to see. Focusing more on 2nd than they are on the lead with how things are squabbled apart. Adams still has the preferred line possibly for the run out of Moraine Sweet.
6/10 up to Polasek. And Landry's going to have his hands full, I think, with those in third and fourth. Darling and Adams door to door through 5. Dirt, dust, debris, smoke, all kicked up, heading up to turn 6.
Still no inroads on that interval, by the way, for Landry. So this is exactly what your race leader wanted. 3 straight is in reach for the 45.
A little late to it, but I caught just the slyest little grin. I think he knows he's in good shape now. 0.8 of a second ahead of Landry and Darling.
If anything, I think they're going to be more focused on second for the run up to Canada Corner again. Darling looking for his season best. Landry absolutely is in line for a season best no matter what now.
Through the kink. For the final time, Polasek leads the way. He is out of reach of Jason Landry unless he makes a big mistake. 0.6 of a second. It might be down to 5 by Canada Corner, but Paul Darling is all over the 5 for P2.
Could it make it work? Could it make the send? Polasek, he can taste the checker flag from here.
Through turn 13. Billy Mitchell Bend. Michael Polasek sat in 4th place for much of this race, watching cars drop like flies around him for second and beyond. They let this leader slip through their fingers in their battle for second place. But up the hill for the final time, Michael Polasek is going to do it. He's going to go 3 for the last 3 in the Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League and win at Road America. Landry and Darling to the stripe. Tight battle there, and it's Landry by 63 thousandths of a second. Then Adams and Farr, the rest of your top 5.
How about that squabbling yet again? It worked exactly to Polasek's chess pieces. Exactly what I talked about. You get the chess pieces planned out. You never know what could happen, and guess what? We've seen an eventful end for that lead.
What a battle at the front of the field. And Michael Polasek is absolutely going to be celebrating this one. Another cash prize added, and with the troubles for Michael Yanni, this is worst case scenario for his championship hopes. And with the lead he's growing, it's going to be pretty hard if he has decent rounds at Barber and Indianapolis to lose this championship. And there's thousands of dollars on the line for Michael Polasek.
Yeah, and now it's good team effort, by the way, for the Moveld Motorsports Machines. Landry doing well. McKenzie getting a top 10 as well. Tell their team going to be extremely happy here.
So on this cool down lap, everyone will take a breather. And let's have a look at our race results here. What a dramatic event. This was fun. Well, Michael Polasek wins this one by 0.5 second because everyone else couldn't get organized in time. And then from there on out, second place between Landry and Darling was a close one. 0.625 behind the leader, 0.649 behind the leader. Adams and Farr, the rest of your top 5, you have to give it to the 52, Justin, with how good of a job he did climbing up through the field.
Yeah, right now he has to be your driver of the day. 33rd to 5th, an absolute rocket ship. McKenzie, Lynn, Blaustein, Nick Yanni on debut, give him huge credit. He played this race very well in that number 43 in 9th. Nate Storr, we'll see where the post race looks to be after that one for the top 10.
Yeah, and we'll see if that investigation has any fruit. I think the 57 and 47 will also be investigated post-race. And Ken House-Seal, man, he did not have a great first couple of laps, but he managed to rally for a P11, decent points day. We saw Rick Segrini late in the going, Josh Soto late in the going, also have some issues. Aiden Kirk 18th in the Tech Sport Racing car on debut. Had some issues, but was able to steal a top 20. Townend, a disappointing day, and of course, Budzinski, Hewitt, Best, Workman, Castro, Drury, Yanni, Sharp, and more involved in crashes a couple of times. And Justin, you just can't afford that here at Road America.
Just can't afford it. Michael Yanni, 29th today, is absolutely catastrophic. Andre Castro, catastrophic as well for his hopes in 26th position. Championship is running Polisek's direction now with all those DNFs at the bottom of the graphic.
Well, and in just a moment's time, we're going to talk with some of the drivers that managed to get up onto the podium here in this race. Of course, it was an exciting one. So let's chat with a couple of our drivers. We've got Jason Landry that is waiting trackside here, so we'll bring him in and chat with our second place finisher in this race. Jason, tonight was a wild race, and I think there's probably a lot of frustrations from some of those battles because of how fierce they were. But take us through your action there. You had your teammates up there in the mix, lots of battles with Paul Darling, but P2, after all that, what are you thinking?
Oh, I'm super pumped. So yeah, thanks to my team. Logan was my rear gunner there. He was definitely had my back. Paul is super respectful racer. Same with Nate. So I was just trying to kind of work with them a little bit while not pushing, saving my tires. And then the last 10 minutes, it was like, all right, all out, let's go try to get to the front. And yeah, I'm super pumped. It worked out perfectly.
You and your organizations had some bad luck in this series. This your best run as a team together. How big is it to have the run like this that you did, to be able to stay in sync and keep it clean for both cars?
Oh yeah, that was awesome. So we did really well in quali for this series. I think me and Micah were third and second or something like that. So it's nice to finally show off our pace without some bad luck. Yeah, and Logan was just awesome. Just whenever we were talking back and forth, if he had a run, I would say just go for it. And if I can't hold you off, then get ahead of me and I'll try to go back later. But yeah, the teamwork was amazing. So even in quali, there was a bunch of us that were trying to work together, and even some guys that are not on the team. Everybody was just really helpful, especially the top 5 guys. Probably even more, but I was racing with these guys the most. But they were super respectful racing, so that was really fun.
Well, that was a fun battle to watch, Jason. Your finishes this season: 34th at Sonoma, 12th at Sebring, 5th at Coda, 16th at VIR. But your first podium is the second. I want to get one more question from you, though. The very tail end of that race with Michael Polisek kind of skirting by, had things kind of formulated different the last 2 laps. Do you think you could have beaten him? I know that he kind of got away as you and Paul and Matt were battling.
So I actually had a little bit of front end damage, so I was a little bit slow on the straightaway. So if I could have gotten closer on like lap 3 and kind of stick with him, I might have been able to give him a challenge. But honestly, unless I was ahead of him, I don't think I would have been able to pull a draft to get by him because I had a bit of front end damage. So the car was a little slow. I forget who it was, but somebody went a little bit of iRacing glue and they went around my front end and bent it a little bit.
Jason, congratulations. Second place tonight at Road America. Great points night for you. We thank you for joining us and chatting with us, and hopefully we'll see you again at Barber here at the start of September.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it, and thanks for the broadcast, and thanks for my team.
All right, thanks so much, Jason. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
And Michael Polisek brings it home in victory lane for the 3rd time. This is just going so well for you, Michael. I know this was not an easy one by any stretch here at Road America today. Lots of battling door-to-door, pushing, shoving. You managed to kind of stay up in the front. You got shuffled back to about 4th place. But then when push came to shove, you were right up in the mix, and you won this one by a margin that was 10, 15 times the last 2 races combined. Take us through tonight and the battle you had there at the end.
Well, I knew that going into this race, it was just going to be pack racing. I described this race to several people as pretty much a super speedway race with a few more braking zones. And that's exactly what that was. And pretty much for the first 30, 45 minutes, I figured that there really wasn't any reason to fight because the only thing you gain is just a tiny bit of track position. And then you're going to be caught by the guys anyway. And I could see the cars in front, just the energy was starting to build between them. And I knew that as soon as Nate Stewart and Elliot Budzinski got into it, then that was my time to push. And you got to race people respectfully. And you race people clean, they'll race you clean as well. And same goes if you try and door someone too many times, as unfortunately some people found out. I feel really bad for Yanni and Andre Castro. Those guys are really fun to race against. I had a lot of extremely good racing with Yanni and officials, and we were pretty much door-to-door for all of those races. It's a shame that they weren't at the front as per usual. But they're such great people to race against, and the series is so much fun to race in.
Well, in turn as well, you mentioned some of the planning process. How tricky was that planning process throughout the entire race to make sure you had the chess pieces in the right place for those final moments?
The hardest part of the race was definitely going from that 20 minutes to 10-minute stretch, because the energy I could tell was starting to build from behind as well. Everybody was starting to become much more impatient, go too wide behind me, try and do a lot of dives, a lot of moves. So it was just a matter of checking up the field just enough to the point where I can just stay in my own little bubble and everybody else is fighting around me. And as long as I can control the chaos and it doesn't really affect me, then I'd be okay. But some of those moments were really, really dicey, and I thought that I was going to be wrecked out more than once.
Well, Michael, congratulations. Third win of the season in 3 in a row. Things are looking up for you as we head to Barber here in a couple of weeks. So thanks so much for talking to us and putting on another great show here at Road America. We wish you the best, and we'll see you in Alabama.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Justin. Wow, what an event. Road America doesn't disappoint. I think there are going to be some disappointed drivers, though, just from how aggressive, how elbows out things got. A lot of DNFs in this one, from 24th on back to 33rd. 9 cars out and many more stranded, unable to compete with damage or whatnot. So we look forward to Barber here. Things are going to change heading into Barber, I'm sure, as far as the front runners. It's a very different racetrack, but we're very excited.
Should be an exciting time, and the championship taking a big turn today. Michael Polasek absolutely executed where he needed to execute for points with the win. Everybody else who needed to execute to keep up did not. Absolute panic mode for everybody else as Polasek looks to try and put a staple on this championship next time out.
Yeah, there's some penalties even coming in post-race here. The 47 car picks up a 30-second penalty post-race. So all things to be sorted out in the points after this one, though. The last 2 rounds of the Toyota GR Cup eSports League will take us to Barber Motorsports Park in September. Actually might be the tail end of August here, because we race a week before the real series does. And then, of course, we go racing at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in October. Thanks so much for joining us here today on GT World. Make sure you tune in to the real series next week. Toyota GR Cup North America heads to their 5th round of the season right here at Road America. Tickets are still on sale. I will unfortunately be missing this round. It'll be DJ Clark and I believe Joe Peak taking command. So we'll hope to see you on the GT World broadcast there, rooting on the real drivers, and we'll see you for round 6 of the Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League at Barber next time. From Kyle Heyer and Justin Prince, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.